According to Kids Count, there are over 600,000 kids in the U.S. foster care system, where at least one report of maltreatment was cited. A lot of these kids end up in foster care, where agencies are always looking to find permanent homes for them through adoption, but only about 135,000 kids are adopted in the United States each year, and step-parent adoptions are also mixed into that stat. So many kids taken away from their families for different reasons, just like the three McCormick sisters adopted by Leticia and Brian McCormick. Some of them end up experiencing worse conditions than the home CPS removed them from. And unfortunately for these three sisters, no one knew how bad it was until the life of the oldest sister, Arabella, was taken away. She was only 11 years old. Take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Click the notification bell for all updates. If you're watching from San Diego, drop San Diego below in the comments. In 2017, Torianda Flory had three little girls, 6 years old, 2 years old, and a 1-year-old. All three of the girls taken away from her after she attacked their father, and it was discovered that she suffers from bipolar disorder. The three girls were removed from the home and then placed in foster care with the McCormick family, their foster mom, Leticia McCormick, and their foster dad, Brian McCormick. The couple officially adopted the girls 2 years later, in 2019. Leticia, 49 years old, heavily involved with church activities. She was an ordained elder, a leader at the Rock Church and Evangelical Mega Church in San Diego. Leticia often volunteered services to help out the church in various ways, helping the ministry. Her husband, Brian McCormick, a 19-year Border Patrol agent. The couple didn't have any children, so they were happy to add the three girls to their family. In 2019, after having the girls for about 2 years and the adoption was finalized, they removed the oldest daughter from school, Arabella, and started homeschooling her. As her younger sisters, the toddlers, grew over the years, they never enrolled them into public school. The McCormicks got away with how they treated these little girls for over 5 years, until August 30th, 2022. At 2 o'clock in the morning, deputies responded to a call of a child in distress at the McCormick's home on Lakeview Drive. Arabella was found lying on the living room floor. She was pale, unresponsive, and had no pulse. There was bruising and lacerations to her body, and her bones protruded from her skin. She only weighed 45 pounds at 11 years old. An 11-year-old female is supposed to weigh about 81 pounds. Arabella's weighed almost half of that. Investigators later found that she suffered 15 bone fractures that were still healing. While at the hospital, Arabella's condition continued to decline and she passed away that same day. Her sisters, ages 6 and 7, were also starved. They spent 3 weeks in the hospital where they had to be nourished so they could grow and continue to survive. If the two girls were not taken to the hospital at that time, they would have also lost their lives as well. Police contacted the father, Brian McCormick, and told him that they wanted to talk to him about Arabella and the girls. But according to authorities, when Brian got near the family's home, he deleted himself right there in front of the police. This took place later that day on August 30th. The body of Brian McCormick, who was an agent with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, was removed from inside of his pickup truck. A couple of months later, on November 7th, police ended up detaining 3 people. Leticia McCormick, as well as her parents, 70-year-old Adela Tom and 75-year-old Stanley Tom. During an investigation, text messages, photos, videos, and witness statements revealed that Leticia McCormick and Brian McCormick, as well as Leticia's parents, they all worked together to starve Arabella and her sisters. This all started around January 1st, 2017, until the day Arabella passed away. The girls were forced to perform rigorous exercise. They isolated them in their bedrooms and did not allow them to use the bathroom at their will. Several times during the days leading up to Arabella's death, Brian McCormick communicated to his wife that Arabella was starving to death, and he told her that he believed that she would die. According to reports, the 11-year-old hadn't received any medical treatment in the last 4 years. Now, this is all coming from a family with law enforcement ties. Leticia and her parents worked as volunteer San Diego police officers. while her husband was a Border Patrol agent.
We're learning more tonight about the law enforcement connections of 3 family members charged with torturing their 3 adopted daughters. One of those girls, 11-year-old Arabella McCormack, died at their Spring Valley home in August, allegedly from neglect and abuse. CBS 8's David Goffredson reports all 3 of the defendants previously volunteered with the San Diego Police Department.
Law enforcement was part of the fabric of the McCormack family when they were foster parents in 2017 and later when they adopted 3 little girls in 2019. The adoptive father, Brian McCormack, was an award-winning Border Patrol agent. The adoptive mother, Letitia McCormack, volunteered with the San Diego Police Department as a crisis interventionist. Her parents, Adela and Stanley Tom, worked with SDPD's retired senior volunteer patrol, as seen in this photo from a few years back. Now, the 3 former SDPD volunteers are behind bars, charged with torture and child abuse of all 3 girls. Letitia McCormack and her father, 75-year-old Stanley Tom, are both charged with murder in the death of Arabella. They all face life in prison if convicted.
I want to address a very sad situation that was in the news this week, that one of our former volunteers was arrested for the death of her adopted daughter.
Letitia McCormack also volunteered as a ministry leadership coordinator at San Diego's Rock Church. Over the weekend, Pastor Miles McPherson told the congregation the Rock Church had no indication of criminal wrongdoing.
She was a volunteer for law enforcement, was background checked by law enforcement, background checked by Child Protective Services because she was a foster mother and then adopted parent, her and her husband. And then obviously we did a background check after all that, and nothing revealed that anything like this could happen.
Now, attorneys representing those 3 defendants had no comment for this report, and it's important to note that these defendants apparently had no criminal history, so there would be no reason to red flag them from volunteering for the police department. A San Diego police lieutenant told me he had no information to share about exactly how long they volunteered with the department.
David, the story is confounding, it's frustrating, it's upsetting.
Letitia McCormack and her parents were arrested 3 months later in November 2022. A judge denied bail, so none of them will be released before their trial. All 3 charged with torture and child abuse, but they only charged Letitia and her father with murder. Her mother did not get the murder charge. The 3 defendants entered not guilty pleas, and the judge denied bail a couple of weeks later after they got arrested at their hearing on November 29th. Following the horrible discovery, reporters reached out to the children's biological mother, Toriana Flory, who said that she had plans to go to court to try to nullify the adoptions of Arabella's sisters and get custody. This situation is absolutely horrible. So many kids are mistreated and they end up going through this cycle where authorities remove them from their biological parents, and the next thing you know, they're also mistreated in foster care. If they're able to get adopted, you have kids who experience horrible things with their new family as well. And I'm sure it was very easy for Letitia and Brian to get access to these kids. They didn't have bad records. Brian, a Border Patrol agent for 19 years. Letitia, heavily involved in the church. She was an elder leader at the church. We're talking about evangelicals. These are supposed to be good people, right? And then all of them a part of the law enforcement community. It's like they tried to snuggle up with the San Diego PD and the church, knowing that they are evil people. I guess so no one will really expect this from them. So you just never really know. It's also interesting that they charged Letitia's father and Letitia with murder, but didn't charge Letitia's mother with murder. And Brian, he already knew what would happen to him. He was just as responsible for the kids as Letitia. Both of them adopted the girls. And instead of answering any questions, he took himself out before they could even question him. And honestly, that made him look really guilty. Brian thought that he was going to jail that day, so he avoided it altogether. You know, this is just an overall crazy story. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started below. R.I.P. to Arabella. I'm hoping that her 2 surviving sisters, they are in better care. You know, I'm just hoping that they're not placed with people that will do further damage. special thank you to Havelock. I appreciate you, Havelock, for always supporting the channel, as well as Randy J, Brother New, Nuke, Dark Power, and Judas Lion. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.